I'm Deanna Kleine, and welcome to the Wealthy Acre. Today, my guest is Tracy Brunet. She is the CEO of Farm Marketer and a powerful host of the Impact Farming Show. The show is built to help Canadian farmers excel in their business of farming. Tracy and her husband operate a very successful cattle farm in the southeastern part of Manitoba. So I guess she knows a little bit about farming and what we're going to be talking about today. As Tracy likes to say, the generational clock is ticking. Farming and farmers are extremely invaluable to our way of life and everything that we do. Of course, food on the table. It is such an important topic, and I feel not enough people are discussing it honestly and just bluntly. So bringing awareness to succession planning, transition, as our farmers are aging is incredibly important. And today we are diving into those hard truths: farming, transition, and succession planning. So Tracy, I know you are a super busy lady. You have your cattle operation with your husband. You're doing a very, very successful media show, which is fantastic. And of course, Farm Marketer as well, and your podcast, which is really fascinating. So thank you so much for being in the hot seat as my guest today. So I do appreciate you being here again. I know how busy you are. Tell us a little bit about your farming experience with the cattle that you and your husband, Anthony, is it, that are doing.
Excellent. So first off, thank you so much for having me on the show. We've chatted before. We have a lot of mutual interest. I love the work you're doing. So I'm honored to be here and thankful you asked. So thanks. Myself and my husband, we are farmers in southeast Manitoba, and we have a cattle herd. We're about 250 head. Of course, it fluctuates, and then we make the hay that feed the cattle all winter long. So our herd, for those that are cattle people, we have a mixed herd, like a commercial herd, and then a purebred herd. And as we've gone, we're gearing more towards that Black Angus purebred herd.
And how long have you been doing that now?
I would say, oh boy, I can't remember the year Anthony started. We started with our first group. We farm with Anthony's parents, but not really. Like we will do hay on their land, but we have all our own land and cattle and machinery. So we farm independently is how I like to say it. So in the beginning though, we kept our animals. We bought our first group of purebred Black Angus, I think 15 or something. I'd say probably about 15 years ago, something like that, kind of around when I was starting for a marketer. It was all very similar timelines. So we started there, he started part-time, and then in no time flat, it's like, okay, this is a lot. And he was helping his dad, of course, with his big herd at that point. So then he went full-time. And then as we've been growing, his dad has been kind of retiring. We bought our own land, all our machinery. So we've been growing, I'd say slow and steady, but really fast and aggressively at the same time. We've done a lot in a fairly short period of time with a lot of big capital growth. So it's been fun.
Amazing. And you said around that time you started Farm Marketer and then the Impact Farming Show as well. So you have a fantastic YouTube channel there and a lot of information, a lot of great guests and so forth. How did that all come about?
So 17 years ago, there was a job ad of all things. This wasn't always my company. A group of individuals in Steinbach, Manitoba had an idea for a real estate website for farms. So kind of like a farm MLS. Anybody familiar with the real estate world? And they had this idea. They wanted somebody to come and take this seed of an idea and make it a thing. So of course they did the application process. I had that farming, marketing, sales background. I guess I had the right background, got the job.
Qualified, yeah.
Yeah, qualified. I got the job, which is amazing because in no time flat, I just knew it was for me. You know, when you get into something and you're like, oh, right, this is where I'm supposed to be at.
So, it feels right, yeah.
Yeah, a few years in, I bought a small part of the company, so I became a minority partner. And fantastic gentlemen. They were just great to work with. They were just silent partners. I was the person, reported to them once a month, and they're just like, okay, good job, Tracy. Keep on going. Grow, grow, grow. And then I would say 2019, one of the partners wanted to get out. We looked at it. And then throughout the conversation, I just decided to buy them all out. So I bought them all out. And I am the sole owner of farm marketer and the Impact Farming Show since 2019.
That's amazing. And tell us a little bit about the website. I know it's got a lot of information. I scoured through it. I know there's amazing realtors throughout Canada and so forth, and there's events, there's all these different things. Tell us a little bit about the website.
So, as I mentioned, we started from the real estate end because we wanted a place for real estate agents to advertise their farm, ranch, rural land property, because farms are a little bit different than your typical house, and it needs different fields, and it also needed marketing to an audience that wanted to buy farms, lands, ranches, all that kind of stuff across Canada. So that's kind of how we started. And then of course we were just getting started, nobody knew us, we weren't a big media company. So I was going to farm shows, talking to farmers, and then I'm like, okay, well, what else can we add to the website to become more of a media company? Because while farmers are always looking at land, they can benefit from other information. So we added in news, a weather page, story, news, commodity, links, events. And then it was a well-rounded media website for farmers. And then 8 years ago, right now, we started the Impact Farming Show, a video podcast show for farmers.
And that's very informative. I always like watching that and listening to it. And it's really good. Like there's you have amazing guests on there. So keep doing that. You're doing great with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I know that we wanted to jump on here because you are very passionate about transition and succession planning for farmers. And of course, you know a little bit about farming, which is fantastic, a little bit about a lot. And you're in that circle and you interview incredible people as well. Let's start with the challenges of farming, because I know a lot of the stuff that you do talk about is like, okay, what are the challenges? Because there's a slew, and this is an unpopular topic. There's a slew of challenges, but the farming is so important at the same time. So it's not always rainbows and unicorns, as you know. Yeah. And yeah, so let's talk about that. So there are obviously so many different challenges. I'm going to let you kind of list them off and kind of dive into that.
Excellent. Thank you. I just recorded an episode titled Let's Talk, the challenges we're facing in 2025. So Perfect. Quite timely. I was just organizing my thoughts on that. There are a lot of challenges. And one of the things I started off with in that episode, and I'll share with your audience here, I've been noticing a bit of a disconnect. And I like to lift everybody up and encourage everybody and not put anybody down. But I'm a farmer, and we're friends with families farm. And I have a very boots on the ground, literally, physically, figuratively. I understand. And then I'm in the media world, and then floating in and out of agencies, talking about advertising. So I get a feel for everybody's conversation and feel. And I noticed a lot in the media that they're talking about how farmers can grow their AI and tech. And yeah, that's great. Farmers are very savvy. They use a lot of tech already. Like their combines are literally like a spaceship, like a plane. There's a lot of tech in there that would make the average person faint. So there's no doubt that AI and tech is important. But I always seem to kind of, and I don't know what it is, a gift or a curse. I seem to be able to like just go straight through to see the issue right at the heart of it, like get to the splinter. And what's been really frustrating me, and maybe it's done purposely or accidentally, is in the news and in the media, agriculture or not, there tends to be not a lot of talk about the real stuff that's going on. And then farmers, and you flip over to Twitter, that's where you get a lot of the good stuff, and you see how bad farmers are hurting. But then a different conversation is happening to the public and then to the ag outlets. And I just didn't see people talking about the real issues. I'm like, well, why are they doing that? I don't think anybody's trying to be misleading. It's a big conversation. It's intimidating. Honestly, I'm sitting here, I'm like, do I want to talk about this? Because you're opening a can of worms. And typically they teach you, or you feel as a human, that don't open a conversation that you don't have a solution for.
Yeah.
And so when I was thinking about this, I'm like, but okay, you're talking about farmers adopting more tech and all of this. And honestly, the conversation I'm hearing right now for a lot of grain farmers, cattle's good. Grain farmers are like, we're trying to survive. We don't know if we're going to have a farm next year. And you're talking about AI. AI doesn't pay our bills right now. So I found a bit of a disconnect. So I did an episode not long ago. Normally, I'm a host format on my show, and I've been starting to do some episodes to share my thoughts on transition. And then the other week, I shared some challenges. And then this week, next week, I'm recording an episode about the challenges because here's the thing: we're always talking. Oh, sorry, I'll get to the challenges.
No,
Dan,
you go, girl.
very long-winded. I'm a politician
No.
here. So I'm just kind of trying to step in and preface it and just kind of share what I'm seeing and why I'm opening these conversations. So, anyways, I decided to finally open the can of worms and talk
Good.
about the challenges.
Good.
I'm like, Tracy, do you want to do this? You don't have answers. I always want to try and solve people's problems, save the world. But I'm like, this is beyond your pay scale. And honestly, the people at the top haven't.
It's
Yeah,
it's too big, and it's so
isn't
much
it?
out of your control. And it's about at this point just bringing awareness to the effects.
Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm opening the conversation because we're always telling farmers about their mental health. And well, yeah, when you're losing $240 an acre on corn and 188 on whatever other commodity rice, I gave a bunch in my episode, and we're talking about mental health. Well, yeah, I don't care
Hmm.
who we are. We're producers. We use that money to pay our operation, take care of our family. And if we are going in the hole, I don't care how happy you are, there's mental health issues. And of course, they're going to vary by the person and the mental health levels, but such a disconnect. So I just wanted to open that conversation to say, okay, let's talk about it. The storm isn't coming. Another person wrote, the storm isn't coming, the storm's here. The wolf isn't coming, the wolf is on the doorstep. So here are some challenges if you want me to actually roll into the answer to your question.
Let's dive in. I think it's really important. And again, because it's young farmers, it's people that are coming in now and thinking about this, or in general, just what's happening right now. I think it's super important to talk about the difficulties and the challenges that the farmers have
Yeah,
to
and I
bring
don't
the food to our grocery stores. Like it's so important, and we're not talking about it. And I think we need to appreciate our farmers because of the challenges that they are facing and bring awareness to it. So yeah, let's dive right into it.
thank you. And thank you for opening your platform for this and encouraging my work. I appreciate it.
100%.
So here's what I break down as the challenges to farmers. Of course, there's more or less economic, what I just spoke about. Right now, it's getting pinched. You'll see stuff floating around on the internet that the cost of farming is this. This is what you're getting paid for the commodity. And they'll go in 1970. This is the cost of the farm. This is what you got paid for the commodity. And then the cost of farming is like quadrupled, or I don't even know what X that is. And what you're getting paid for your crop is actually less than in 1970.
That's
Like,
insane.
isn't it? The
Yeah.
math doesn't math. So farmers, and we've been dealing with that. The grain has had great times. Cattle farmers have had some good years, but we were in the bottom of the pit there for a while. So economic challenges right now, and it'll tie closely into number two is policy and trade war. Right now isn't the first time ever, but farmers are being used as a pawn and they're caught in the crosshairs of political trade wars and spat. So you're well aware of what happened in Canada. They want the electric vehicles in here. I won't get into the details. In Canada, speaking to Canada, and we said no. China said, okay, well, we're tariffing massive tariffs on canola, pork, and seafood, I believe. And now all these farmers that have canola, one of Canada's leading crops, like our biggest crops, they have this planted. And because of a stroke of a pen, a speech, a little trade spat, farmers are stuck in the crosshair. And as an entrepreneur, the words ain't fair are not part of my vocabulary because that goes against the grain. It's like, okay, honey, get to it, right? Make your own way. But that ain't fair. Why is the farmer the target of that? And when there's so much on the line, and then your government comes in and they say, oh, sorry, here's a loan with good terms to help you out. And People are like, we don't need more debt on top
Yeah.
of more debt. This is not the answer. So the economics is the main thing right now. Policy, trade wars, the wars between the US, China, Canada. Farmers are stuck in the middle. I know other industries are too, but this is my industry, so we'll speak to farming. But
Yeah.
that's a big one. There's a lot of farmers hurting real bad because of political fights.
Yeah. And it's unfair. It's completely unfair. And you're absolutely right. And and again, farming is so important and we're not giving them the help that they need. That's for sure. And I can't understand it either. And then there's the financial, the land values, the weather droughts, like things that are out of their control. And there's so many factors that come into that. Equipment costs, like you have mentioned, like with the AI and the technology and all these different things, maintenance, fuel, like all of that stuff. I can't even imagine how farmers are doing it, yet along trying to get into farming. And we need farmers more than anything right now. And I feel it's even harder for farmers to want to farm because of everything that's happening. There's so many roadblocks there for them. So yeah, so I know that the challenges are massive. And then it's like, and then we're talking about succession planning. Like who
Yeah.
wants to, who, hey, I'll take over these challenges. I'll take over this farm or whatever it is from your parents when you see them struggling for so long and continuously looking into the future, potentially struggling some more. So, so speaking of that, so what about some positives on why would people want to get into farming? Let's talk about some of the beautiful things about it, because we know the importance of it, of course, and how important it is to, let's say, feed, right? Feed everybody and feed the people and make sure the grocery stores are full with everything, all the produce and health wise and all these different things that we do need, and cattle and pork and beef and all these different things. But let's talk about some positives and then we'll get into the transition.
Well, to me, yeah, they go hand in hand. I mean, at the end of the day, farmers need to be able to continue to keep the lights on, to farm, to feed the world, right? And that is my concern, is all of those things we just discussed, the production costs, all of that, and then just the craziness of farming, the weather, all of what you added to it as well. I mean, the positives of farming, well, if I'm not sure exactly who your audience is, but I'm assuming entrepreneurs, you're an entrepreneur. If there's farmers out there, I think the ones that can answer that know what it is. It's just a love of the land. It's a love of the animals. It is the ability to make your way, to wake up in the morning, to answer to yourself and, well, markets and weather and everything else. But that it can only be answered really by an entrepreneur and a farmer sharing their heart, because the average person would be like, okay, well, whiny farmers, if it's that hard, just quit and go get a job. Well, no, we
Mm-mm.
don't want to do that. And here is the thing: people need to eat, and it should be a viable business to be able to produce food for the world. So what are the positives? I mean, the positives, and again, operation, everybody's in a different boat right now. The cattle guys, they're having their amazing kick at the can. We are in the point where we're like, okay, times are good. We don't know how much it's going to last. Let's pay off debt. Let's save money. Let's invest in the operation, because somewhere the prices should correct. That's how all cycles go. Herds are lower, which is a positive. Our herd size in Canada, at least, is the smallest it's ever been. All the boomer generation are retiring. There's been a lot of droughts. People have taken these high prices, if they're close to retirement, as the time to get out. Smart. You don't wait till the market crashes, right?
Is this why the beef prices have gone up? Because there's less supply? It's supply and demand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Is that why? Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't realize that because I know the beef prices just kept skyrocketing, which again is good for the farmers, which is
Yeah.
awesome. So that's great, and you don't know how long it's going to last. But you mentioned the grain is different now, right? They're feeling it. They're feeling the pinch.
Well, a funny thing for those in agriculture, we know it's always when one is doing good, the other's suffering. It's the weirdest thing. When I really got into agriculture and started to understand, when grain is up, cattle is down because it's cost, right? You feed grain to the livestock. When cattle are up, grain are down. So none of us are always winning at the same time.
Mhm.
So, and that's just the reality of it. Now, grains had a bunch of good years and now they're at the bottom. I mean, there's natural cycles to begin with. But the problem right now and the big challenge is the trade wars that have just like really kick the grain farmer when they're down already. They've taken lower prices and then just made it just a big mess, right? So, I mean, opportunities. It's funny, right? You sound like a complaining farmer, but talk to any entrepreneur. It is hard. It is hard. And depending on the size of your operation, the land, how many years you've been doing it, how many generations, how much your debt is paid down, how good of a penciler you are you over invested in equipment? The opportunity is there as long as the government just doesn't continue to throw tariffs at us and trade wars. It is there. For the most part, farmers know there's a cycle. And when it's good, you pay off, you invest, you set aside. When it's break even, you just do status quo. And when it's low, you hope that you have equity or savings to lean back on, right? Just like lean
Mhm.
years in a business. So eh, I feel like I need a big list of opportunities, but it's being self-employed. It's the love of the land, the love of animals, and you can't explain that to somebody that's never been on the farm. What's the opportunity? People always need to eat.
Yeah.
Acres always need to be farmed. Animals always need to be raised. It's just making sure going into transition planning right away that we are having conversations, and we can go there right away, to make sure that the next generation doesn't lose hope, because then we're just going to see bigger farms get bigger, just like any other industry. That's fine, but I think anybody in the agriculture industry that farms loves the farm, and we want to see it continue, because once
Yeah.
it's lost to the next generation, it ain't coming back. Like the grandkids aren't going to go back and buy that. They won't afford it, right?
You're absolutely right, and it is such an important business to be in. It's you're literally, like you said, feeding the world. It is so important, and I think the importance of it, loving working for yourself, and being able to share that with the family. And I think this was something you said: how to plan for tomorrow when today feels impossible.
Mhm. Yeah.
I love that so much because we talked about the challenges of farming. We talked about the importance of farming. We talked about how some positive things, like being self employed, is a beautiful thing to be able to do that. Even though you're at the mercy of everything else, it's still a beautiful thing to be able to provide that for everybody else. And yet, how important it is to plan for tomorrow. So, passing on the farm, the kids, do they even want it? Do, like you said, the grandkids might not be able to afford to purchase it, even if they wanted to. So, this is really important to start thinking about it. And I think you've mentioned a stat of 88% of Canadian farmers don't have a succession plan.
Yes.
That's massive. That's
Isn't
88% of our farmers in Canada, not to mention anywhere else in the world. So the transition planning is so important. I love that you're passionate about this, and I love that you're speaking about it, Tracy. I think it's just so important. And it is a hard conversation to have with the children and whoever you're transitioning this to. And you always also say fair is not equal. And I want to dive into that, and we're going to kind of go into step by step, maybe what the plans would look like. I know you're offering an ebook as well, but I just feel like that's so important, because you could have 4 kids and only one wants to farm, or however that's structured. So how does that work? Let's dive into it. I want to kind of even have like a little bit of a game plan here that my listeners can take away.
okay. Stepping high level a little bit, my fear, exactly like you just said, my concern, my desire is that we don't lose track and allow the next generation to lose hope on their farming dreams because of where we're at. So transition planning, and I'll make a disclaimer here. I am by no means a coach or a professional of any sort for transition planning. I'm the person that interviews the brilliant minds, but I'm also the person that has experienced that I am that. I'm I'm all those roles, and I know so many farm families that sometimes they just come in with the farmer aspect of it. Like, let's talk about the truth. So it's hard for so many reasons. Communication is the big one. We look communication and a plan and just the human element of kicking the can down the road and not talking about stuff. I Here's me, the female, opening up the can of worms. I kind of equate it to, let's say you have a problem in your relationship. And if you're not an aggressive person or you like to avoid confrontation, most of us are like, okay, let's not talk about it. It's going to get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
We put it off because it's yucky. Because who wants to approach somebody and have, we don't know how the conversation's going to go. We don't have the answer. And the chances are it could be a fight, whether that is your spouse for the relationship. But now take that to the family farm. So the second generation is on the farm or wants to come back and they want to bring it up, but they don't know what to say, what to do. And then we go to the farm founder. I think most farm founders generally want their kids to carry on. Mind you, I'll make a disclaimer. I'm sure some of them would say, after this baloney that we deal with, I don't want you to farm. Go get a
Mm-hmm.
good job. In the years past, they used to do that. But then I would counter, what is a good, stable job nowadays? That ain't
Yeah.
like 20, 30 years ago. So there's that. Farm founders, here, they're in it. And farming operations are like any other business, they have a margin. Okay. And the cost of the living would be in that farm unless there's off farm income. So I see it often. One of the concerns, and they don't know how to handle it, is, well, if I want to bring a kid back to the farm, we can't pay them a wage because we can't afford it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if there's a farm kid that wants to come back and they're losing 240 an acre right now, what's that conversation? They're either like, are you nuts? Depending on their communication level. Are you nuts, child? We're losing 240 an acre. Or they don't want to say that because money is vulnerable. So they say, so they ignore the conversation. So then there's no clarity. So the kid doesn't know what's going on. And one of an amazing guest we always have, I quote her on this all the time, Elaine Phrase, clarity is kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are a family and a farm, there's dynamics. They don't want to ask mom and dad. Mom and dad don't have the answers. And don't we know mom and dad want to feel like they know and they want their kids to
Yeah.
think they know? So I see it sometimes, and I've heard it from guests, a bit of a vicious circle. Like, I don't have knowledge. They think they can't do it. They don't know where to find information. So I find it a bit of a chasing their tail, a vicious cycle, and then just paralysis by how big it is. That's one farm kid. Now, the big thing in farming, back in the day when farms weren't very much and everybody was headed to the city to get their big corporate job, nobody cared about the farm. They're like, okay, let Johnny farm. Okay. We don't care.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get our big city job. Farm wasn't worth much. Commodities weren't worth much, pardon me. So they didn't care. But now, and this is such a touchy subject, but I'll open the can. Now, off farm kids see the price of land and then they're like, okay, that's fine that Johnny wants to farm, but why do they get to inherit all of that for free? What? And then there's problems. And society now, back in the day, that was common, right? The farm went to the oldest son. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And everybody else lost out. They got the farm. People were mad, but it's the way it is. Now we're a different society. Parents want to be equal, fair, fair enough. But here we are. If you try and split a pie called the farm four ways, but technically the farm needs the whole pie to operate, you just now made it fair for all your children, but you potentially, if it's not done right, my concern is you kill the viability of the family farm.
Yeah.
Or you have to buy siblings out, but then can you afford that mortgage payment? Like, there's so much to it.
Yeah.
It is such a big often overwhelming conversation that it gets put off, and it affects the family dynamics. It affects the future of the farm and then the next generation.
You're absolutely right. So it is about kind of first thing is communicating. So mom and dad, the farm founder, they need to sit down with all their kids and be like, okay, so everybody will have to have a role to play. And not everybody will want the farm. So it's like the communication component is going to be key. And I think that's really important. And this is why where the awareness comes into play. So then it doesn't feel awkward. It's like, okay, yeah, we've heard it online. We've heard it on the Farm Impact show that it is important to talk about. So I think that's really important. And you're doing a service by discussing it. And having those roles that's going to be important, having those meetings. It's a business. And I don't
Mhm.
think that enough people are treating it like a business. They're
Right.
treating it like, oh, we're sensitive about it, or there's an emotional component because it's a family business, but they're not treating it like a business. So it's like, okay, are you going to have a board meeting? Are you going to have what are we going to do with these assets? What are we going to do? And I think when treating it like a business, the easiest way to do it. Because it's like, okay, what's the income? What are the expenses? What's the equipment like? What are we looking at? And if we create that kind of environment instead of uh, feelings, right? So hurt feelings because my sibling is this, my sibling is that, or my mom and dad doesn't think that we're capable. But there's also roles. And it's also like the parents will have to say, okay, well, is Johnny or Jimmy or Sandy or whatever, are they capable of taking this on? Are they responsible enough as well? So it's great that they want the family farm. Maybe they just want a handout, or are they literally able to take on the family business and treating it like a business? So those roles are going to be really important. And they're
Yeah.
not just like a handout because the
Yeah.
farming industry is so important and again so valuable to everybody, and unless people take it as serious as it is, and the sweat, the blood, the tears, as you know, that come with farming, and the parents have done that, they've established themselves, and all of a sudden the next person that's going to take that over, going to take that business on, they need to be able to follow through with those difficult things, still put the sweat, the tears, the blood into that business, and treat it like a business, not a handout.
There's so much. That's such a big conversation.
It
And
really
you
is.
even look at, sorry if I can add one more there. I like to just say it because I know there's people feeling it. So, and it's, I don't like the word vulnerable either, but I just like to say the hard stuff to give other people permission. Look at farm founder dad. I look at my husband. I'm farm founder or media company founder Tracy. I have that build that I'm doing it. Then we come to issues as we age, right? We realize we're aging and time slips away. And if you're building a farm, like a season goes by, and let's say you're heavily in debt and then you're finally paying off and you feel, I could imagine farm founders feel like they're finally getting there. I mean, nowadays we're healthy at 70. So they feel like they're in the prime of it. And it takes a big person and forward thinking and communication to not feel like you're being dethroned or pushed out or um, with the kids like entitlement, like inheritance, or even like that the farm kid has to come back. It is just a big and weird and awkward and challenging conversation, right? Because I could see farm founders for all of those reasons. Also, where's my income coming if I give it all to the kids? Like, we need to live. So those are financial concerns. Most people don't know there's plans around that. But you're like, oh, I could see, even myself, I'll be honest. I could see if somebody's like wanting to come over and take my farm. Okay, you're like, okay, do I want this to continue on? If I do, we need to get them to come in, or else they're going to lose interest and go somewhere else. But man, doesn't that take a big person
Yeah.
to bring them into an operation that they've grown, and you feel like you're just hitting your stride at 60 and 70, and then now the next generation's coming? I don't know. I feel that might be a big feeling, thought of farmers
Yeah.
that's never named, I would imagine.
And also it's like about proving yourself. It's about proving that you are able to manage that. You're not immature doing silly things and blowing all your savings and all these different things. You're actually coming in and treating it like a real business. And I think that the parents need to kind of realize that. So it's great that one of your kids wants to do it, but are they able to? Are they
Right.
responsible enough, not just entitled to take over the business, because there's so many factors that come into play. There is obviously the harvesting, timing of everything. There's all these different things that come into play, and the distribution, the dealing with accounting. Like, there's just so many factors of running a business. And I don't know if a lot of people think of farming as a business, because it truly is. And now, so there's people, of course, we have, mom and dad, the farm founders, we have the successors that they're trying to leave that to. I think that's the right word. So you have the people. Now, there's coaches, I believe, as well, that they can get help. There's lawyers. Who can they reach out after having maybe that family discussion, a mediator or anybody that can help them through that, if it doesn't necessarily, let's say, go as planned and there's emotions involved and things get heated in these family meetings? Who can help them with that transition?
There are coaches, and I'd say, not to give my channel a plug, but I interview all of them. So that'd be a good place to start. Go to Farm Marketer, a website, Impact Farming, or go to YouTube podcasts. We're there. And listen to those people and learn the lingo and the strategies. There's coaches available. There's also in Canada an organization called Canadian Association of Farm Advisors. So these are lawyers, accountants, various professionals that have joined this association and have a background, an interest, a training, an understanding of the intricate details of farm businesses. So I would suggest, instead of, in one of my last episodes, if you are a farm founder and you just go to the accountant will give you a tax plan. If you go to the lawyer will give you a legal plan, and maybe you need a bigger plan to encompass a lot of things. So that's where the coaches come in. And I kind of always say it would be uncomfortable having a coach in, but if you want somebody with the knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
but also here's the thing, we only know what we know. So if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. You're not going to come up with new answers unless you read and learn. But here is the thing, who of us, I deal with these individuals. I would not be capable or skilled to go into the farm kitchen, let's say it was my own family, and try and lead this discussion, because I don't have the skill set, the knowledge, the conflict mediation, the communication, the steps, the one step removed, right? And that's where the transition coach comes in. I don't get any commission or any paid off this. I just think if I was a farm family and my farm was big enough and viable enough and tricky enough, I'd hire a coach, because I'm pretty well versed in communication and this stuff. And I think it might be mighty challenging for most people to lead this conversation. You bring your kids in. Okay, kids, what do you want? Oh, I
Yeah.
want nothing, or I want everything. And then a blow up. Whereas sales, I'm coming from a sales background now. You know a process, you start a conversation, and you have an action plan. So that's where I see the coaches coming in, because they're skilled in conflict and communication, and everything is that with a farm family. Like, the technical details are pretty straightforward. There's only so many ways you can do farm transition, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's the conflict and the communication. Tony Robbins quote, 80% of life and business is psychology, 20% is strategy. I just shared that. Same for transition. The coach will come in, make sure she talks to everybody, has a feel of the land. She'll be like, okay, if this is what they want, here's some potential plays, like a quarterback, right? And they'll be like, okay, this is kind of what I think. And she can coach the founders through. And then the founders share that with the kids. And then they're either happy or not, whatever happens. And then they get passed on to the legal experts to do the accounting and the legal process of it, whether it's a shareholder, a corporation, whatever it is, right? So and I think that's why people get scared of this for all those human reasons I just said. The fair and equal, I think, is the biggest elephant in the room, and they don't know what to do. And then they feel paralyzed, right?
You got the nail right on the head. Like, it makes so much sense because it is about the human component. So if you hire a coach, you get help. And the other thing I think is really difficult for people, especially the older generation, is asking for help.
Well, yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So getting a coach in there, the coach is going to steer you if it's a will or a shareholder agreement or a partnership agreement, or how everything's going to get worked out. And they're going to, I'm assuming, work closely with the accountant and
Yeah.
figuring out the numbers and figuring out and just really laying everything out and having those difficult conversations.
Yeah. The estate planners, financial planners, right? And I always kind of throw myself under the bus. I'm a professional that deals with professionals, and farmers are too. But it's a yucky feeling when you're used to being the business owner and it's like, I got to figure this out. Sometimes we get in our own way. Who wants to be like, I don't have a hot clue what to do? You just avoid it. That's human nature, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those are some of my observations, and even stuff I feel on the inside myself about the process, about friends and family that this has happened to. I think it isn't the wills and the estates that hold it up. It's all the peopling stuff.
Yeah, we are usually the biggest problem.
Aren't we?
We
80%
really are.
psychology.
Yeah,
Yeah.
psychology and the emotions that go into it, and the what ifs and the fear. I
Yeah.
think the
Oh, totally.
fear drives us so massively, and then we get
Isn't it?
paralyzed.
Yeah.
And we're paralyzed, and then we don't do anything. And like you said, 88% of Canadian farmers don't have a plan. They don't know what they're going to do. So what's going to happen with all these farms? What's going to happen with the produce, the grain, the cattle, whatever it might be that they're producing for us? Like, it's a massive thing. So it is really important to put those emotions aside, to put the fear aside, talk to a professional and get that figured out, whatever that looks like. And I think that's super important. And I think that's a massive takeaway here. What else can you add to kind of give people some advice and help on moving that conversation or getting those first steps in to that transition planning and at least starting things moving? Of course, talk to the family. That's really hard. Maybe getting some help. Is there anything else that you kind of think of that we can kind of throw their way?
Again, I'm going to plug my channel just for the experts that are on there that do this. I just did an episode with Elaine Fraze. She's well known in the transition coaching space. And the whole episode is getting to the table. How do you get it going? So
Brilliant.
to me, also realizing that it's only ever us that's going to do something in life, right? Nobody's going to do something for us. Just like you, me, business, life. Like, we take our bodies to work. If we have to have a hard conversation with our spouse, we either ignore it or we do it. Transition planning is just going, ugh, okay, I don't know. This is uncomfortable.
Mhm.
But maybe if the farm is this darn important to me and the farming kid, and I actually want to address it so there's not 10 elephants in the Christmas kitchen, maybe we should just address it, right? And the fear is what you said. But I would definitely say learn, just like they would learn to plant a crop or a new variety or a new tech. Grab my ebook. I have pretty
Mhm.
much every transition planning book in there. Read before you even talk to anybody, because what happens when we read, we get an understanding, we get ideas of what needs to happen, we become comfortable. And nothing else, it frees up stuck energy
I love
for
it.
second generation or first. And then when everybody has an idea, then bring in a coach to help. That's the way I would do it if I was a farm family. I would learn on my own, whether I was Gen 2 or founders, and go, okay, this is kind of expectations, this is how it could go. And then I would approach a coach to figure out, again, if my farm was a sizable operation and a little more complicated. If you have one farming child, well, then that's pretty easy, right?
Assuming they want to
and
take that
nobody
over.
else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Right. There's no cousins or anything that they want to do it.
yeah.
So streamline, learn what you can. I'm going to make sure to put some resources in the description. So I'm going to make sure to put your YouTube channel, your website, farmmarketer.com as well. There's so much resources there. I know I've been kind of stalking you for a little bit and looking at it. So I just absolutely love the information. I think it's brilliant, and everybody should have that conversation. And I remember in one of your videos, you mentioned where to find that free ebook. Can you maybe mention that again? And how to find you and so forth, and all of that information. And I think that will be an incredible way for people to start. Thank you for that.
Excellent. Farmmarketer.com. And then there is a menu there. It'll say Impact Farming. Go down the left hand side, you'll see all our episodes. You can sign up to get show alerts. And then there's free resources. And you can just put your name and email in there. We don't spam you. You get your ebook. And then that lists all the books, and you can just buy them. Pretty much everyone's available on Amazon. There's articles linked within that PDF, different coaches to talk to. It's not all encompassing, but it's a heck of a good start. I finally sat down and put this together because I wanted that for the industry. So that's where they can access that. Listen to our episodes. There's amazing people on there. I wouldn't have been able to create this platform without all those guests and their time and expertise. And if people want to connect with me, I'm on every single, well, I shouldn't say that, most of the popular social media platforms, Farm Marketer, Impact Farming, and then personally, Tracy M. Brunet would be most of my handles. So they can find me there.
Fantastic. And I'll make sure to include that as well. And again, Tracy, we so appreciate you being here and sharing your expertise and your platform. I think it's just so important to have that. And for the time that you took to create the ebook. And I do hope that people take that on and start reading and start learning about it. It's super valuable. Thank you so very much, Tracy.
Well, you're very welcome. And thank you for the time to share with your audience today. I love the work you're doing. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Well, that was absolutely informative and absolutely incredible. I hope you got as much from this interview as I did. And I so appreciate Tracy being in the hot seat. Usually she is the host of her podcast, but now she's in the hot seat as my guest. So I really appreciate her being here. I hope you got a lot of value from this about the challenges of farming, the succession planning, and just learning about the next steps that you can take to make an easier transition so we can continue farming and excelling in that and producing food for everybody. So it is a very important topic. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, my name is Deanna Kleine, and thank you so much for joining me on The Wealthy Acre. Till next time.